Oh god, it's that time. Alright, let's kill the music. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third game of the day here. We are now down to the round of 16 in the Fnatic Raid Call. Heroes of Newerth Open number 2. I am Zyori. Joining me is myself. I am solo casting it here today on the Fnatic.tv channel. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Hopefully you are enjoying the cast thus far and some of the games we observed earlier on in this cast, some of the lesser known teams that we are finally moving in here to some of the teams that we know very, very well. Here we do have on the Legion team, Team HoN Portal, being led up by Panny, of course, with that one ringer, someone we may recognize, and Mr. Swindlemelons here. For SGTY, going to be ringing for Team HoN Portal. Over on the Hellborn side, Vitriolic Gaming, they do have a ringer of their own, ZetPro, going to be their ringer here. But here we are counting down. Now, they did already start this game, and this is a remake for the sake of us viewers at home. So that, of course, is why it's AP, which is fortunate and unfortunate. One, we don't get to see the banning phase, so we don't get to see what these guys were up to, how these teams came about, so we're flying in the dark a little bit. But the positive is we get to get right into the action. Thwarted by a pause, but that's okay because we need to look at these rosters anyhow. Over here on the Hellborn side, though, we do see a Behemoth, Silhouette, Meraxis, Nymphora, and Jeraziah lineup. Now, talk about a team lineup here. They have some scary, scary heroes. I would have loved to see who was banned on this board because they have a damn scary team. Nymphora, Behemoth, of course, Silhouette, that carry that we talked about quite a bit earlier and we continue to talk about in this game. Meraxis, a hero I'm so glad was picked because there's so much to say about him as well. And Jeraziah, I mean, wow. Jeraziah, he is interesting. A lot of picks here, a lot of scary heroes, a lot of heroes picked that should have been picked, I think. And it's kind of rare to see Jeraziah. I wonder if Electrician was banned here because, you know, we haven't seen Jeraziah quite as much because Electrician doesn't seem to be banned so much recently, nor Jeraziah. But leaving both them on the board, unless you last pick Jeraziah, that Electrician's always going to be there to counter you, and that ultimate just counters the repel, and pretty much everything about Electrician just counters Jeraziah so effectively. Sorry, reading, thinking, and trying to talk all at the same time just didn't work. Anyhow, this Legion team with another interesting roster of their own. We have a Luna, Polywog Priest, Bubbles, Pebbles, and Wild Soul picks. So again, talk about interesting heroes. Until we got to that Wild Soul, I'd say pretty straightforward roster. You know, some pretty damn good heroes, but Wild Soul, a jungler that we rarely see. I mean, rarely is the bottom 1%. I mean, it's so rare to see a Wild Soul. So my question is, what is he going to be doing as far as build is concerned? Are we going to see a Wild Soul go for this pushing strategy? Are we going to see him sit in the jungle, AFK farm a Mock of Brilliance? Or are we going to see him do, you know, just some sort of a fairly regular carry type build, maybe you know, pick up Geometer's Bane or something? All three semi-viable options. I think pushing is probably the most viable of them, but we'll see. Definitely, you know, that fast Mock kind of coincides with pushing a little bit at least, so we can talk about Wild Soul as this game. I love the skin too as well. I love Jalum rocking the Arctic Wild Soul. And Wild Soul actually used to be one of my favorite heroes, believe it or not. I used to play Wild Soul almost exclusively, although that was back when I played easy mode, which does make Wild Soul a little bit easier, but still, I like Wild Soul. He's a nice guy. I like the bear. Boo Boo, he's a good guy too. But the rest of their team, though, I mean, Swindlemelon's playing Pebbles. That is always scary. Swindlemelon's very powerful player. We obviously used to be very well known. Took a pretty long hiatus and came back for Dream HoN with his team SGTY. I guess they're not participating today, so he is able to ring, but a very strong player, and very strong Pebbles player at that as well, one of his best heroes. So seeing him play Pebbles is going to be a treat, but also a little bit scary for the Hellborn side. I'm going to guess he'll probably be laning with a Luna here and make the most sense to me. Seeing that solo Bubbles and the solo Polywog Priest. Sort of an interesting lane comp. You know, an Nymphora being picked up over here. This is probably one of these situations I mentioned in that last game where when there's an Nymphora Armadon and an Nymphora Pebbles on the board, your mission needs to be not to let your opposing team get both those heroes. And that's probably how this ended up as far as this Legion team having Pebbles and the Hellborn team having Nymphora, but neither of them having a really good lane combo together because it sort of makes sense that way. So it should be interesting. I don't know which team I would give an edge to because this is really interesting for a couple of reasons. I mean, the Hellborn team is just an interesting... It's like if you took 5 really powerful heroes and then put them together and said, there we go, let's make a team. You know, since we're still in this pulse, we can talk about Meraxes a little bit. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Meraxes right now, he's kind of been the talk of the town a little bit. We mentioned Silhouette being the flavor of the month, but Meraxes, a very similar situation. Maybe not quite as powerful as Silhouette, but he is a damn good hero. If you just look at his abilities, he's got a huge AoE stun, does a lot of damage, and a nice 2.5 second stun. He's got a passive +8 armor, plus Arcane Shield that absorbs an incoming attack. He's got more axes. He's never going to run out of axes, but also those axes will do percentage of the target's max health and magic damage. And what's important to note about this is it's max health, not current health. Very, very important. So he is kind of argued as a counter to really tanky heroes. Well, is one place that he counters, but he's so powerful, that initiation roll, and of course that ultimate that allows him to absorb so much damage and put out a decent amount of burst damage as well. Really, really powerful. He's one of these heroes that can be super tanky without a super tanky array of items. He really doesn't need too much early farm to become a scary force. Really, in some games we've seen him skip that Helm of the Black Legion altogether, just pick up upgraded boots, and then go straight into the portal key, which is definitely something that can work very, very nicely. And of course, he's going to use the Chainsaw Meraxes skin here, which is also a treat. Instead of they need to change this, instead of more axes, it needs to be more chainsaws, I think would be the most appropriate thing here. So what else is interesting about their team is this Behemoth. Is this a new Behemoth skin? Have I not seen this Behemoth skin? What is this? He's a Tauren. Oh my gosh, I need to go shopping. I love Behemoth. I absolutely love Behemoth. So Behemoth, you know, kind of a hero that we don't see as much, but still a very powerful hero. One of the things about I guess about Behemoth that it is pretty much the consensus now is he's really not so good in a tank meta. You know, we're in a tank meta right now, and his damage just isn't so strong against tanky heroes. So he does a pretty good. He's much more situational now than he used to be. Instead of that every game pick, and we look at this Legion team and we see 3 pretty squishy heroes up at the top. Pebbles, who is a strength hero, but of course isn't going to build tank, and then we have Wild Soul, who's kind of a squishy carry, if you will. So. You know, Behemoth really fits in nicely in this lineup, I think. So they have a pretty well-rounded team, all things considered. It looks like a Silhouette Behemoth lane up here in the top. Boo Boo going to be scouting it out here. And we do have Bubbles going to be going 1v2 against this Silhouette Behemoth lane. So Bubbles, already we know Panny going to be struggling a lot against these two. He'd be struggling against just a solo Silhouette, but with Behemoth here, it's going to be that much more difficult. So that does mean they will have an Nymphora Meraxes mid lane and then a solo Jeraziah down here in the solo. So I mentioned in the Suicide rather, and I mentioned Jeraziah, one of these heroes that we don't see him picked up quite as much recently because he has really easily countered by Electrician. Still a very powerful hero though. He has magic immunity, a huge bursty heal, and that ultimate which can be a game changer. Against Pebbles Aluna though, gonna be sort of interesting. At first thought it's like he's gonna struggle, but this isn't a Pebbles Nymphora lane. Pebbles is still gonna have that same problem he has early on, which is he can't combo until, I believe, level 3 if he doesn't get... well, he has 2 minor totems, so it's probably going to be level 3 before he has that 240 mana mark when he can actually do a combo. And once he does, he is totally dry. That is his huge mana pool. With only 1 mana potion, he's not nearly as aggressive as he could be. I mean, Aluna is going to harass back Jeraziah here. It looks like Jeraziah is going to struggle a little bit. And, oh, that's Panny on Aluna. Pardon me. Who did I think was playing Bubbles? That's, Sequence playing Bubbles, so pardon me, I totally had my panties and my sequences mixed up there. That was definitely my bad. But regardless, in the 2v1, Jeraziah is not going to be able to do too much to thwart the efforts of Pebbles. And, of course, the double stun and that burst from a Luna does pose a very serious threat. So Pebbles, at the very least, will get some pretty solid farm down here. And like I mentioned before, in the hands of Sundelmelons, I'm not surprised. We see that build picking up the Hatchet. Going to be picking up every single one of these little creep kills. You're even picking up the denies so he can static farm in this lane with absolutely no trouble. This is an ideal situation here for the Legion side, at least in the bottom lane. Now let's take a look at the mid. We mentioned him for a Meraxis, a fairly powerful lane. You know, Meraxis is a hero. Obviously, Strength hero is relatively low on mana, and he's going to go Quake Meraxis here. More Axes. It's a terrible skill name because it sounds just like the hero name. But he is going to be able to spam these abilities, definitely keep Polywog Priest at bay. We can take a look at the farming Polywog Priest, 2-1, while we see Meraxis 6-2, with Nymphora 0-1. So Meraxis should be able to farm fairly nicely as well. He does not have a Hatchet, but really shouldn't need one, really, when it comes down to it. Up in the top, let's see how things are faring for the Silhouette Behemoth lane against the solo Bubbles. Bubbles sitting 2-0. I see Silhouette sitting 6-3, with Behemoth here 0-1. So Behemoth spending a lot of time out of the lane, obviously against the Bubbles. He doesn't need to be in lane, soaking up that experience. So he is going to give Silhouette all of that solo XP, but come into lane as soon as Bubbles gets close. So this is very well played by Mikey's so far, keeping Bubbles pushed back out of experience range, but more importantly, giving Silhouette that ability to free farm. So Mikey's is doing such a great job staying out of the way of experience, but keeping that lane safe and sound and keeping Bubbles at bay. As long as he can keep this up, this top lane should be a relatively ideal situation here for Vitriolic Gaming. So this is another one of these scenarios where Silhouette versus Pebbles. That's kind of the way the free farm is going. If we take a look at the GPM chart, pretty close to the way things are looking. I mean, Meraxis is farming reasonably well in this mid lane, but Pebbles just free farming away, sitting at 340 GPM at the 3-minute mark is, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he has scored almost every single creep kill. I mean, if he's missed maybe one or two, you know, I wouldn't be surprised, but Jerizai just can't do anything to stop his farm. So Pebbles is going to snowball a little bit here. Probably going to be going for that fast portal key. I shouldn't say probably. He will be going for that fast portal key, no problem. Going for those steam boots. May opt for a bottle power supply first if he has this exuberant amount of farm. But you know, at this point, we can do the math. But Pebbles will probably hit this portal key around the 10-minute mark, depending on how many other small items he gets. Like I said, if he goes for bottle as well as the power supply after the boots, or if he even picks up a ring of sorcery, that's going to slow down the portal key. But if he just goes straight steam boots into the portal key, we'll probably get it by that 9:30 mark, 10-minute mark, something close to that. And that is going to be so powerful. That's going to make him such a scary weapon early on. Then, of course, we have Wild Soul, the hero that we haven't talked about at all yet in this game. You know, he's a solo in the jungler. We mentioned previously having a jungler is almost always advantageous. And as we see, this is the way things are unfolding here. The Legion team actually has a slight gold and experience advantage. Even though the GPM chart doesn't look so promising, they do have that slight advantage. Partially because Pebbles is free farming so well, but also because of this jungler. Their lanes are just that much more efficient, and they're really in good... they have a lot of... it's slightly more efficient lane, so they do have they're in good shape as far as that's concerned. So what's all going to do though? I'm really curious how they're going to build this. I mean, at least in my limited experience with Wild Soul, which admittedly really isn't all that much. You know, we haven't seen that much Wild Soul on the competitive scene, especially not recently. What's he going to do in the way of build? You pick up this double damage rune, so that's going to help him farm. Is he just going to go for this super fast Mach? I think some of his decision making is going to depend on how much pressure he takes early on. You know, do they put any pressure on him in the jungle, or does he have total free farm for the first 20 minutes? That's going to be a big deciding factor here. Because, you know, the Mach is a really risky build. If you're going to get that Mach, you want to get it pretty damn quick. Maybe pick up some boots first, but you're pretty useless, and you really need to be careful with your positioning. So, if he's going to do that, he's really going to need a lot of free time in the jungle. Now, I mentioned the Mach build kind of coincides with the pushing build here, because the pushing from Wild Soul comes from the bear. And at level 3, can we actually even see the ability so we can see? Well, oh, there it is. Okay, so, yeah, level 3, the Demolish ability, he gets a crit against buildings, basically is what it is. I don't remember what percentage. I don't know if it's a 50% crit or double damage to buildings, but he does an absurd amount of damage to buildings here. We see Bubbles. Ooh, Sequence going to get taken out. So, you know, it's interesting. I mentioned in this top lane, Bubbles was struggling to solo against a Silhouette in general. So, Silhouette Behemoth is going to be very difficult, and Zaxxerok going to pick up that Bloodlust kill. So, Vitriolic Gaming Now off to a good start. That is going to boost Silhouette up to be on par with Pebbles here. Well, pretty close actually. Still a little bit behind, but at least competing with Pebbles. As we said, Silhouette is pretty much a hard carry, but a lot of early game burst damage that she can put out, as we saw on the bubbles there. So anyhow, getting that Maka Brilliance, throwing it on your bear, you know, even though your bear can't attack if you're not within that certain tether range, like 1,500 units or something, he's still, the Maka Brilliance effect will still work regardless of where he is. So you can send him up, he can kite creeps around and still kill them, and of course, with that Maka Brilliance, do a lot of damage to towers. So he is a very powerful hero in his own right, by all means, can definitely pack the punch. He's going to go level 3 Boo Boo here, so... you know, if you're going to go for that kind of carry-style Wild Soul, which really isn't so popular, he's not competitively, but, you know, in my mind, I think of Pub Wild Soul. He's so cute. You know, you kind of see a level 2 Boo Boo for the root, gank right away, and then you kind of toggle here between the Wild and Natural Attunement. So he's going for a pretty straight-up farming build here, boosting all that damage onto Boo Boo. And, you know, going to be able to push towers somewhat early at his desire. So we'll see what he picks up with the Courier here. Going to go for the Ghost Marchers, which is an interesting choice as well. I would have thought almost for sure Steam Boots would be the choice. One of the things with Wild Soul to note, also with that Natural Attunement as well as the Wild, you can keep Wild up 24/7, and you run pretty damn fast with Steam Boots. I mean, you're not quite at max speed, but... it's pretty damn close. It seems like the Ghost Marchers might be overkill, and because he's so squishy, getting those extra stats, a little bit worth it, at least in my opinion. I like the Steam Boots on Wild Soul, but no problem. If he puts those Ghost Marchers on the bear, then you know, that added damage certainly does help as well. So interesting stuff. Other than that, though, been a relatively passive game. 7 minutes in already, and only 1 kill has befallen us. And kind of unfortunate, at least, in my opinion. Up in the top, Bubble's going to be, in a little bit of trouble. We'll be able to shell surf back to safety. Well, pseudo-safety as he has to head back to the... I mean, Bubbles is just getting completely worked. Pretty comparable to Jerizaiah here, as we see Jerizaiah in the bottom lane. Going to be in some trouble, but we'll be able to get that potion off. Swindle Melons with the LOL. I'm bad. Jerizaiah, 1 hit from death, so my apologies for missing the beginning of that engage. I shall pay more attention to my minimap, is my promise to you. As you see, Swindle Melons here has picked up that Ring of Sorcery as well as the Steam Boots. So, like I said, depending on how he decides to invest that gold will reflect the timing of that portal key, but it is still going to come out pretty damn quick. We see he's got 200 gold in the bank, 8 minutes in now with those core items, so he could just save up and go straight for PK now and still be pretty close to that 10-minute mark, maybe 11-minute mark, which is still absurdly early. And for this Hellborn side, really, I mean, M4 is that one hero that really is going to be a fall victim, I think, to the Pebbles combo. Of course, early on, even strength heroes are susceptible to that level 8 combo, especially if he has a portal key. But as the game goes on, he really is going to be looking for those heroes that he can pick on. I think Silhouette and M4 are going to be the two to make it happen. We'll see what Silhouette does as far as item choices. We talked about in that previous match where we saw Silhouette. Nullstone seems to be the norm as far as that first item choice, though we did see a Shield Breaker first earlier. We're curious to see what this Silhouette ends up doing. I think Nullstone will be great just to try and mitigate some of the effectiveness of Pebbles. It does change the mechanic of Chuck a little bit, though it still is possible to get a combo off if you target the unit, or if you don't specifically target the unit and just Chuck in the area around you. You can still get the combo off despite a hero having a Nullstone, but it does make it a little bit more difficult. So Nullstone, you know, will have some effectiveness here, but really not a hell of a lot. But, you know, maybe a Luna Stun, Polywog, CCs, and Jolt. But, you know, it's going to be another one of these classic games where if he does go for that fast Nullstone, it's going to be more for those stats and regen for that as kind of a farming tool more so than anything else. But I'll be curious. I mean, just the stats alone will be great against Pebbles here, as we see him just harassing the hell out of this Bubbles. And level 8 versus level 5. This could not be going much better for Silhouette here. Maybe it could be farming just a pinch better, as not quite free farm, but still farming very, very well. This Miraculous in 4 lane also surprising me a little bit here, seeing as they haven't been able to secure a kill on the Polywog Priest. I would have thought between the two of them they might be able to set something up, but down in the bottom, Jerizaiah going to be in big trouble. He's going to get that heal off, but it will not be enough. The kill does come out actually in favor of Swindle Melons, interestingly enough. I thought Wild Soul was going to be the one to pick that one up, but alas, it is Pebbles. So that's a very good news for this Legion team. Pebbles furthering that farm now at 400 GPM, only 10 minutes in. Boo Boo going to be the one to pick up those Ghost Marchers. So sort of as I was saying, you know, if you pick that up on the bear, it's all about the raw damage and the movement speed, so not too surprised to see that. In the mid lane as well, though, Polywog Priest going to be well, sort of going to be in a little bit of trouble. Going to ward trap himself as sort of a rarity, but still probably the right play there is going to keep him alive. We see this engage continuing a little bit. Meraxis going in. Looks like he wants to try and hit Wild Soul. He does have that ultimate activated for that extra layer of survivability. Meraxis not going to be able to do a hell of a lot. Nymphora going to go ahead and heal him up. And what's Nymphora leveling here? Is this a 3-1-1 build? And it looks like it is level 3 Volatile Pod, which is something we've been seeing much more frequently from Nymphora as well, not only for the heal, but also that nuke potential, hitting for 185 damage. So sort of just an interesting play, more so than anything else. You can go super hard support and level up that mana. You see down on the bottom, though, Jerizaiah really struggling against this Pebbles. So no Melon's dropping that combo, taking Jerizaiah dangerously low as he does throw out that heal to return some damage and stay alive. It is pretty clear that Pebbles has just dominated everything Jerizaiah has thrown his way. Of course, Jerizaiah with those Mystic Vestments is helping quite a bit as well. So it's one of these interesting games where we see two heroes that are really dark, 2 or 3 heroes that are really farmed, and everyone else is just ridiculously low. The Hellborn side, other than Meraxis and Silhouette, everyone else has kind of dropped off below 100 GPM, and on the Legion team, pretty comparable situation, though Polywog Priest and Bubbles are barely able to make it above that 100 GPM mark. Polywog Priest, well, not barely able, around 160 GPM, in okay shape, I suppose, given that early lane. But still, interestingly enough, this Legion team is still ahead in both Golden Experience now, and it's only 1-to-1 hero kills. So, it's one of these things, if Pebbles can take off and they can really get aggressive here, they might be able to win this game before Silhouette really gets too crazy. Between the pushing power from Polywog Priest with those wards mixed with Wild Soul and his bear, they do have a lot of pushing potential. So that does give them, some added juice to capitalize on Pebbles being tilted so early on. We do see an engage here. Meraxis is going to get ward trapped. We'll go ahead and use that ultimate. And just look how effectively he's tanking those wards. All compliments of that ultimate. We did see, miss in the top. Bubbles actually got taken out by Silhouette yet again in the mid here, though. It will just be 1 kill coming out onto Nymphora. Meraxis just showing what he's all about. He does have a Helm of the Black Legion, but that ultimate just proving super effective here. So yeah, Silhouette did solo Bubbles, which is kind of unfortunate, for Bubbles. Silhouette just really doing her own thing here. Doesn't even have to worry about moving around, just static farming it from the top. He's now picked up a Blessed Orb with another 700 in the bank. So again, that question of Nullstone or Geometer's Bane first will be determined pretty quickly here by that next item. So we see the bear already critting for 160 on the tower, just chipping away at it. That's one of the things that makes Wild Soul so powerful, is that he can just hit the tower with Boo Boo and just sit in the back, sit in that ultimate with that added armor and HP, and be that scary force. So looks like he is indeed pulling that gold. Absolutely no items in his personal inventory, as we can see here, and just pressuring these towers. So it looks like he may indeed be saving up for a Maca Brilliance. Meraxis going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Bubbles going to throw that Kelp Field. I don't think going to have the damage to take him out, though. Polywog Priest will tongue time. She's going to get interrupted. It looks like Pebbles does have a portal key now, and he's at that side shot. May opt to port into the mid lane here to try and support the team a little. No kills going to come out for either side, though, as things continue to heat up here in the mid lane. Pebbles still without a port, but is going to be able to pick up a combo kill onto Jerizaiah. So Pebbles still in great shape. All the while in the mid, though, the action is continuing. Wild Soul is trapped in, but it looks like he will be able to survive, as that Fissure should despawn pretty quickly. Meraxis is going to burst the ulti. Not going to have enough damage to finish off Wild Soul, though, and he's going to have to head back. Boo Boo needs to be very careful here. Boo Boo dies. It does do damage to Wild Soul. Swindle Melons, there we go. He's going to port in. There's the PK, and he picks up that kill onto Meraxis. So without the ulti, Meraxis not going to be able to survive that Pebbles combo. And it looks like that tier 1 tower in the mid lane is going to fall. And we see Wild Soul getting dangerously close to that first piece of the Maca Brilliance here with 2.6k gold in the bank. All the while at the top lane, though, Silhouette still farming away. And she does pick up a tier 1 tower kill of her very own in that top lane yet again. So things continuing to get interesting here, as it looks like the Hellborn team is pretty committed to putting all of their eggs in the Silhouette basket. Which might not be the bad choice. There have been situations where we've seen it go both ways, where Silhouette has proved to us that she is indeed a hard carry, and letting her free farm for this long is a huge mistake. But also, like I said, if this Legion team really capitalizes on that timing window when they're tilted right now, where Pebbles is out of control, they have that pushing power. If Wild Soul can get a 20-minute mock and they can just push these towers, it doesn't matter if Silhouette got all that free farm early on. She gets a Nullstone, great. That doesn't do jack shit against the Maca Brilliance, especially at that 20-minute mark. So You know, Silhouette's still here and still looking well, but a pretty big deficit for the Hellborn team already to start things off here. Only 15 minutes into this match, only 6 kills on the board. I'm looking forward to this Wild Soul picking up that Maka Brilliance here. Oh, up in the top lane. Wow, look at that. Sequence going to get taken out, or Sequence. I'm not really sure how to say that name. The capital Q makes me want to think it's different emphasis, Sequence, instead of Sequence, but I might just be might be reading a little too far into it. I tend to overanalyze. It's one of my things, you know, one of my hobbies. Anyhow, down the bottom lane here, we do see these towers getting taken out. The tier 1 falls pretty quickly. The tier 2 going to take a good bit of pressure as well. Polywog Priest, that double damage rune, is going to do a hell of a lot of damage here. Boo Boo just tanking away. And we may even see this Legion team just continue pushing to pressure that base tower. They have the pushing advantage. Polywog Priest still with the wards off cooldown. They will indeed do that. The Hellborn team was going to put pressure on this tier 2, but they're going to be forced to port back. The ward's going to be used. Boo Boo up on the high ground, just chipping away at this tower. So at the very least, this push is going to have some degree of success, as it is going to take this tower down to about half health. The Fissure Sun going to come out, and the wards are going to get taken down. But wow, a lot of damage coming out. And of course, Vitriolic not even able to clear this tier 2 tower down here in the bottom. Pebbles did PK in, try and make something happen, but unfortunately just wasn't quite able to. And they are going to head for the hills here. Wild Soul may be caught in a little bit of trouble. He's going to switch the boots to himself. Nice item micro there from Jollum, and he is going to head for the hills. Is it going to be enough, though? He is going to, oh no, double back just a little bit. A beautiful chuck from Swindlemelons to port forward. Big plays coming out from this Pebbles, and it looks like that will be enough to keep Wild Soul alive. He is going to port the brain. He's going to survive. So look at that Swindlemelons play. Very, very well done. That's what separates the men from the boys. Hopefully at least a few of you are sitting in your chair fist pumping a little bit. Woo, yeah, Swindlemelons, all right, because that was pretty damn clutch. I was not expecting that. I was all prepared for Wild Soul to go down, so it was very nicely done. I'm sure there are a few of you as well that are like, yeah, pretty standard Pebbles play right there. Yeah, pretty standard if you're fucking Swindlemelons, man. Anyhow, sorry about that. So we're going to see maybe a little bit of counter pushing here. The Hellborn team going to hang around. Swindlemelon's going to bump right into Mikey's, though, and we're going to see this engage start with Behemoth getting comboed down. There's the ultimate from Meraxis going to be used, and before we're going to throw that stun, in comes Silhouette, making it rain all over Jollum. He's going to get taken out. Pebbles going to be in a bit of trouble as well. A stun will connect with Silhouette. Is she going to be able to pick off Pebbles? The portal key is up, and I think he's going to be able to get out of here. Needs to be careful. Oh, the death load is not going to connect. He's going to turn it around. Look at that. Swindlemelons was on the run, turns it around, and drops that combo. Huge Pebbles plays coming out yet again. Sherazaya, oh no, going to get taken out to the jolt. Still had the ultimate off cooldown and everything. That is very unfortunate. Pebbles still hanging around. Going to throw a very aggressive chunk. They're going to try and finish off this Meraxis. Unfortunately, though, he did have Arcane Shield. Look at that stun. Swindlemelons doing his thing. He will get hit by a fissure, but not going to be enough for a kill. Meraxis is going to get taken out. Again, Swindlemelons the reason that was possible, setting up that kill with that beautiful max range Stalagmite. So this Legion team coming out way on top there. We did see Wild Soul get taken down, but he did manage to pick up that Sword of the High before he was taken out. So that absolutely huge for Wild Soul right there. Now not losing... Probably lost maybe 100 gold from that death, but really minimizing the effectiveness of that kill. And the rest of the team now catching up. For a while it was just Pebbles who was really looking good, but now the rest of this team is on the rise. Both Polywog Priest as well as Wild Soul now right around the 300 GPM mark, which is quite good. And the Hellborn side, kind of in that opposite scenario where we see... Silhouette, the only one farming really well, and Meraxis kind of farming okay, slowly falling off, and everyone else still, I mean, just barely struggling, and I'm sure that will reflect in the inventories here pretty vividly. We see a couple of sets of red boots, and that's about it. A few minor totems. That's about it. I mean, Vitriolic Gaming really struggling on the warding department right now. Only have one ward up, and not in the most effective of locations, given where the last few engages have gone down. And, you know, part of the reason for that is these supports struggling for that income so much. Up on the top, Jollum going to be able to push a tier 1 tower in that top lane, all by his lonesome. Of course, I would like to see how much the bear is critting for here. I'm sorry for missing that. But throwing the Sword of the High as well as the Ghost Marchers on the bear. I mean, 150 to 160 just basic auto attacks onto Boo Boo here. He is hitting damn hard, so whether the crit is 50% or 100, it is still, you know, pretty absurd how hard he hits these towers. The Hellborn team, though, is down in the bottom lane. We do see Mikey's get taken out. We missed Mikey's get taken out, but take my word for it, he did. And they are going to sack that tier 1 tower. The tower up in the top lane, the bear critting for about 250, so yeah, probably 60% crit or something like that. I'm going to look that up. I'm actually really curious how much he hits towers for. But regardless, just look how fast the tower falls. It's absolutely absurd. Wild is only level 1 too, so as Wild Soul gets a bit more experience and he levels up that Wild, this bear is going to be hitting damn fast and damn hard. You see that Mocking Brilliance just now picked up. The recipe going to be flying over via the courier, as there is only one outer tower remaining now. Boo Boo continuing to pressure this base, and he is finally going to back up. But you know, just this one outer tower remaining, while only 2 outer towers have been taken out here from Vitriolic. That is definitely part of the culprit here for this huge disparity in team gold. 10k disadvantage for Vitriolic, as well as 7k experience. So yep. Bevel's still just out of control, man. He's sitting with that Soul's Bulwark now, has those core items, probably going to transition into a little bit more of a carry Pebbles as this game goes on. Probably going to see that Demonic Breastplate come out. If the game goes on, well, I wouldn't be surprised to see an Elder Parasite pop out if they really need that carry power, but we talked about that timing window for this Legion team, and at least at the moment, they are capitalizing on it. Silhouette's early farm was great. She has that first core item, but that Nullstone really isn't doing too much right now. Yeah, it's helping her survive. Yeah, it's giving her regen, all that great stuff, but compared to this Maka Brilliance on Boo Boo, compared to their pushing power, I mean, it's just not even on the same level. There's a nice 300 crit on Boo Boo to finish off that tower, and we see Mikey's get taken out. Behemoth not even level 6 yet. Swindlemelon's just out of control, totally carrying this game right now. Look at the SP per minute, him and Silhouette, the 2 above 400 GPM. Just look how fast this tower is going to fall here, with the wards coming down as well as the pushing power of Boo Boo. Seeing a game like this, though, you have to think, wow, Wild Soul's looking a little bit underrated in the competitive scene. I mean, that pushing power is damn serious. He is going to get killed, and unfortunately, Boo Boo going to be dead now for about 75 seconds as he was just resummoned. But even his base tower just slightly out of deny range. And they really didn't have to commit a hell of a lot. You throw Boo Boo up on the top of the hill, throw the wards down. Regardless of which they focus, whether it's the wards or Boo Boo, the tower is still going to take a hell of a lot of damage. So that is really, I think, a clear demonstration of how powerful of a pushing combo Polywog Priest and Wild Soul are in tandem. And I mean, Pebbles is a pretty strong pusher as well, with that huge auto attack damage once he gets a Soul's Bulwark, as well as that Demonic Breastplate for that attack speed. He's a pretty damn solid pusher himself. So again, you know, we talked about lack of synergy with some of these teams we saw earlier on today, and this Legion team looks just very synergistic to me. We can see their clear synergies. You know, they have that physical damage output, they have that AoE lockdown, and then they have the magic damage output as well between Bubbles and Aluna, and of course Pebbles as well. So they have a really nice combination of physical and magical damage output, pushing power, laning phase. I mean, they sort of hit that trifecta. They had a good laning phase, now they're having a good roaming phase, and they have a great team for pushing. So they're just all round a very strong team. The Hellborn side, though, we can see their sort of lack of synergy. Again, they have 5 very, very powerful heroes in their own right that can be very strong in lineups, but they just don't have that dream team of heroes that are like, wow, you know, yeah, you're right, if we stack this ultimate with that, they just don't have that. What are we going to stack together? It just isn't there, at least not to the capacity that the Legion team has it. See Boo Boo coming up here, going to scout out that they're killing the Ancients, maybe able to jack an Ancient kill or two. As I mentioned, that Mach does do damage regardless of where Boo Boo is, even though he can't auto-attack. He still is going to pick up that 1 Ancient kill and then port to the mid lane here. So again, Boo Boo going to go straight in just to finish off that tower. Nice 240 crit. The wards now going in to expose Barracks. Going to take a lot of damage. I mean, just look how freaking tanky Boo Boo is. 2,700 HP, just going to go straight up into the front lines, take all those auto attacks, and just obliterate that melee Rax. Again, this Legion team doesn't even have to commit. That's the scary thing about this pushing power. They're all sitting way far back right now. No one got dangerously close to dying. Everyone on their team still at full health, full mana for the most part, and they were able to finish off that tower and pick up some Barracks. They just need to do that a few more times, take out another lane of Rax, and they're going to be in great shape to take this game. They're really executing this non-stop, in-your-face, super aggressive, not giving you a chance to breathe, not giving your Behemoth a chance to hit level 6 type strategy. It's working quite nicely, I have to say. Port looking very good. Swindlemelon's just playing an absolutely fantastic Pebbles. We see them still grouped up, though. All 4 of them here up in the top, as we see Aluna roaming over as well. So it looks like they may opt to put a little bit of pressure here on this top tier 3 tower there at the base. Swindle Melons here. Take a look at the tower. Probably going to stack these Ancients and take them out. A nice read from Swindle Melons. Like I mentioned in that last game, one of the difference between I said really experienced supports and less experienced supports, but I guess experienced players in that in general, being aware of those timings, knowing when to stack the Ancients and go and get that huge boost to your experience and gold farm for that matter. So smart play from Swindle, very good timing here. He's gonna be able to take out this double stack, get a nice little pick me up. And probably going to have to go back and regenerate, but still having that map control, improving their farming. We see right now, while Swindle's taking out a double-stacked Ancient Camp, while Bubbles is taking out the jungle here for the Hellborn side. Hellborn side is clumped up, all 5 of them in the mid, killing the soldiers that are up, so they give even less gold and experience per kill. So that farming difference is really huge. I mean, we can see this deficit growing as the game is sort of stagnant at the moment. The Legion team just has superior map control as they move around and continue to farm, while the Hellborn team is just turtled up in the mid. So, there's really a big difference here, and you can see it displayed very clearly, that importance of having the map control and the ability to farm much more effectively. As we see now, they're going to kill the Hellborn Ancients. Again, that's just furthering their lead here as they're able to just control this map. Legion team, though, is grouped up down here in the bottom lane, looking at items. I haven't seen too many other items pop in the inventories. Bubbles does have a portal key. Pebbles moving into the push book, so not going straight for that kind of carry Pebbles build that I was considering, but push book's still a great choice, very utilitarian item. Miraxis now picking up his portal key, just as we're looking at the item pickup, so a big pick for good old Miraxis here. Probably I'm hesitant to say too little too late, but definitely needed that portal key a bit earlier on. At this point, Miraxis really hasn't been too effective in this game, sitting 0-2-0, and now that he has that portal key, hopefully he can land some keen initiations that we all know he's capable of. We see Silhouette has now picked up a shield breaker as well, so she's going to be hitting pretty hard, but that pushing power that we've been talking about, still very, very true. Still very, very strong, what have you, their pushing power. So we see they don't really have to commit a hell of a lot, and they're able to take out the racks here. Miraxis is going to move in and try and engage. As Pebble's going to counter-engage, go up and do a lot of damage as well. Miraxis may be able to finish off Bubbles here. Is he going to be able to do it? Jeremiah will drop that ulti, and Sequence will be the first to go down. Pebbles did go in, but unfortunately I believe Jeremiah was the culprit as far as Pebbles not being able to pick up a kill of his own. Now Pebbles going to be in some trouble. Silhouette's shield breaker proving to be super effective. However, Jalam does pick up that kill onto Silhouette. Behemoth going to come in, going to throw that fissure stun, but still, even though this Legion team traded a 2-for-1, they did still take out the base tower as well as the melee racks. We can't underestimate that pushing power. Since that guy just whispered me about the support GPMs, which I think we've mentioned a time or two throughout this cast, but he certainly does make a fair point that I don't spend too much time looking at support GPMs. And that the point that I made 1 or 2 games ago definitely holds true here. Another good way of looking at how to interpret this GPM graph is just looking at who's in last place. We see the supports for the Legion team, Aluna and Bubbles, mostly Aluna. They're really looking good. Panty at 200 GPM, Sequence at about 260. Hellborn side, on the other hand, they have 3 heroes that are still desperately struggling. We see Mikey's barely over 100 GPM, and then both Zet Pro and Yushiki guy, Jeremiah as well as Nymphora, just both below Aluna. So if you're looking at supports and you can say, all right, well, one team has supports who are feeling pretty good, they're warding, and they have a couple of core items. Aluna's got that bracer as well as her steam boots, now a bottle, and a power supply. And then you look at someone like Nymphora here, who's got a bracer and a power supply, sure, but no bottle and no steam boots, and still having to keep up with wards. So a big disparity there between these supports. Definitely a good point to mention. See, Wild Soul continuing to impress us with the intricacy of his build here. Does now have Post Haste, picking up a Warp Clef as well, and I'm not sure what's on the bears. I believe Boo Boo is dead. Nope, there he is, going to bring him in. So Boo Boo going to get that Warp Clef now, so going to continue that pushing power. This is that pushing Wild Soul build at the very beginning. What's Wild Soul going to do? Is he going to push? Is he going to carry? Is he just going to go mock and troll around? And he is going to be pushing, pushing, pushing. Now that bear, Warp Clef on the bear who already has those core items is insane. The next time they push, we're going to see that tier 3 tower drop so freaking quick. it is going to be absolute insanity. So fast that it should be illegal. This Legion team now looks like they are going to try and capitalize on this Kongor attempt. See, Polywog Priest has now picked up a struggling head of his own. Look at the warding situation here. The Hellborn team does have a ward in the pit, so they know exactly what's going on. We do see an engage up here, though, and this could be a little bit rough. Pebbles is on the run. He is going to be able to connect the stun onto Meraxis here, and he is going to be able to survive for now. We do see the ward's going to be used onto that level 6 Behemoth. He is going to get taken out despite the Jersey ultimate. Polywog Priest in a little bit of trouble here as well. The Struggling Head not doing a hell of a lot against the farm Silhouette. Kind of an all-over-the-place engage here. See the Polywog Priest ward still doing a lot of damage, and there we're going to see a root connected in 4, and that'll be enough to secure the kill. Now Merax is going to be the one in big trouble. He is out of health, out of mana, and it looks like he's going to go down. Bubble's going to get aggressive here, or Pebble's going to get aggressive here. Will blink in, catch Silhouette, chuck her back, and that will be enough to secure the kill. So when it's all said and done, a 4-for-none exchange. Don't see any buybacks for the Legion side, so they didn't go down. A very chaotic fight. Pebbles did such a great job. Swindle Melons got engaged on to start that off, survived the whole time, and then just sat back and waited for that opportunity, for that gotcha to pick somebody up and then PK out to safety or what have you. So they're going to finish off the 2 sets of range tracks here. All the while, Wild Soul up in the top. Just look at that bear chipping away, critting for 300, 320, 322, 309 as that tower drops. Just, I mean, it's absolutely absurd, the pushing power Wild Soul can put out. Looks like the bottom lane as well as the mid lane are going to be cleared out. The top lane going to be cleared out as well. And it's looking pretty close to a GG. HoN Portal here just really executing that timing window way too well. Silhouette's farm is now diminished. And although Silhouette was farming very, very well, she just can't 1v5 her way to victory. Hellborn team going to hang in there for another minute or so. We do see they're all respawning now, so we may see another fight commence, but there is no hope at this point. They may be able to pick up a kill or two. Bubble's going to go ahead and pick up some Rift Shards here just to buff up that auto attack a little bit, as we see the Boo Boo just absolutely obliterating every structure in sight here. So, a pretty good game, though. You know, our Legion team port really showing us the power of those timing windows. It really would be so interesting to draw out an approximate graph of every hero and where they peak, so you could identify those timing windows of when you have to execute, when you need to capitalize on your tilt. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this game here, is that Portal did that so well. I mean, Pebbles did serve as a bit of a carry. Him free farming early on definitely helped, but you know, it was Pebbles versus Silhouette free farming early on. And, you know, we would look at Silhouette and say, well, she's the hard carry. That's going to benefit her a little bit more. But it's that peaking window. Pebbles peaked a little bit earlier, capitalized on it, took that momentum and carried it in to a strong mid-game. And ultimately, you know, they were able to end the game in the mid-game for the most part. Only a 32-minute match, so I think we'd be hard-pressed to call that late game. So regardless, GG, well played by both sides. Unfortunately, Vitriolic Gaming going to be eliminated here in the round of 16. Of course, Team HoN Portal going to be moving on to the round of 8. I'm Zyori from Zyori.tv. Of course, I work for HoNcast as well. You'll see me on either twitch.tv/HoNcast or twitch.tv/ZyoriTV. This is the Fnatic Raid Call HoN Open #1, and I'm happy to be here casting. Hopefully the solo casting isn't so bad. I feel like I'm getting back into the solo casting groove a little bit here. But nonetheless, thank you so much for joining us, guys.